Have you ever looked at highly successful women and thought, her life must be glamorous? But we rarely see what it took to get there. My guest today, Julie Landi, is a successful entrepreneur and CEO of Live Your Vision. But that's not where her story began. She walked through one of the darkest seasons of her life, losing her job, her relationships, and even her mental and emotional footing. But she didn't stay there. She rebuilt. She found clarity, confidence, and a powerful way forward. And now she helps other women do the same. I've personally experienced the impact of her work, and it's truly transformational. So if you've ever questioned your value or wondered, is there more for me? This conversation is for you. I'm honored to call her a mentor and friend. So please welcome to the podcast, Julie Landi. Welcome, Julie Landi. It's so good to have you here today, Julie. Give us a little background on your life and take us up to your point where you really needed to make some transformation.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. I do really appreciate that. And you know how much I enjoy you personally as a friend, but also, working with you and doing the work that we've been able to do. And hello to everyone out there. I am so thrilled to be here. And I know Robin wanted me to share a little bit about my background. I did have the great privilege of growing up in a privileged family in New York, in the Hamptons. And our family had a house on the water and horses in the backyard and got to travel. I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. We do have two beautiful daughters, one 29, the other 26, and the 29-year-old just got married herself last year. You know, I came from a 110-year-old family business, so my father actually kind of drilled that into us, that business should be a part of your life. And my mom actually was a very big part of that. In fact, her mom was, and her great-grandmother was. Her grandmother, my great-grandmother was as well. Very, I would call them smart, gritty, resourceful women. And as I mentioned, they were married about 51 years when my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer. And my dad, upon hearing that diagnosis, had a massive heart attack and died right in front of her. And as a result of that, the division that was a part of our family earlier on, although we looked like the perfect family, and many times in the newspapers, that's kind of what we were portrayed as, but there were a lot of cracks in our foundation in our family. And so during that period of time, the passing of my parents, the cracks just exploded, honestly.
Julie, what were some of the things that you struggled with in during those losses? Like, as women, we ruminate over crazy things and despairing thoughts. Like, how did you cope with that? Where did you go with your dark thoughts and where did it take your life before you emerged and made the changes that you made?
There was so much that I had anchored myself into, even as a mom and a wife, which I felt very unstable in all those times as well, just due to the, cumulative grief and loss. And so I really did struggle with depression, anxiety, panic attacks at the time. I mean, it was really a difficult time. So out of that time, I remember thinking, because I was 49 at the time, I remember thinking, gosh, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I mean, I just, to be honest, spent a lot of time alone, so much so during those 3 years, definitely working through my grief and therapy and things like that. But at one point, my oldest daughter, who was, I think, 14 actually, she came to me and she said, "Mommy, we need you to come back to the land of the living."
Wow.
And that really was, a wake-up call, honestly.
Mhm.
I did not realize how detached I had become and how checked out I really was from life, and how I was just going through the motions of, making dinner and trying to do the right things. And Joel was, recreating his career and profession. And we were trying to figure out where to live and all of that and how we are going to make our money because everything just blew up on us. But I think it was at that point that I realized, okay, something's got to change. It was one thing to be depressed and grieving and all of that. But when it starts to significantly impact those that you love,
Mhm.
I think I had to do something then.
Where did that vision come from that you had something in you that you wanted to do something different? Like, did that start with you doing self-reflection or were you thinking, I want to have impact? Like, where did that emerge?
I think it was from when I felt so alone. I was like, you've heard me joke about this. I had like 9 Facebook friends, and I made a few more as I went because it was a very lonely time, I'll say that. So where did I go? I went to obviously my relationship with God, I really called heavily upon that. My husband really couldn't help me too much because he was just doing the best he could to keep us afloat, and my kids were too young, 14 and 11. They were in that stage of trying to figure their own lives out. I mean, grief has a way of doing that to you, creating
Yeah.
a lot of question marks like, "Okay, so what" for whatever reason, I started to ask a series of questions to myself, and with each question, the answer I would research and find the answer, and then I actually after I found my way forward, I did have my few Facebook friends that I had made ask me, "How did you do it?" And so that became kind of the thought of like, "Well, I don't let me think about that. How did I do it?" And so those series of questions became actually exercises, then curriculum that has now since become the Live Your Vision curriculum signature process.
So they started to see a change in you just observing you or your engagement with them? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, I definitely think they s well, I mean, I was it was pretty easy to see a change. I was like a dark cloud for quite some time. It was obvious, and I'm not a good poker player. So, I would say that they saw the change, but they also heard me start to speak differently about who I was and understanding a little more about my identity, not role identity, which is a big difference, role versus identity. And so who I was created to be, who I was designed to be in my strengths, my values, my passions, my life story, that all of it had meaning and purpose and all of it had goodness to be extracted. And all of that pointed toward a preferable future. If you could organize it properly and see it clearly, which it was amazing to just follow the rabbit trail and find my way forward, and so, as a result, I grew stronger, more confident. So, I went from what I would call confused, hopeless, depressed, no future, to clear, confident, and having a great plan for my life. So, those 2 things got people to go, How'd you do that? How'd you go from confused, depressed mess to clear, confident, and a plan that you're working for your future?" How's that happen?
So you figured, "Well, this worked for me," okay? And you started to write out the steps and realize, "Wait a minute, these are steps. These I could teach this. I could help someone else." And did you start to explore and
Well,
say,
I didn't
"How's
realize
that?"
that.
Oh, you didn't realize it
No,
early on.
no, no. It's not wasn't quite that like that.
Okay.
It was more like I started figuring these things out, like finding your way through the dark is what it felt
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and, figuring these things out, and I start to share a couple of things here and there on Facebook. That's honestly how I did it, and then the people that were part of my life at that time watched this transformation, and they said, "Well, can you show us how to do that?" I literally had 12 people reach out to me, Robin, in less than 6 months, back channel, ask me, "Can you show me how you made that successful transition in your life?" And I thought, "Oh, have I?" I mean, honestly, I hadn't even realized that I had done that other than, of course, I wasn't, like, catatonic anymore with my kids and my family. He said, "You know what? Let me do this. Let me get your names and emails and get back to you after I sit down and think this through what I actually just did." I wasn't thinking about selling it or helping anybody else just yet, only because they asked. And so then when they asked, I thought it through. I actually put it together. I wrote it down as far as I could go because I was like, well, it worked for me. I don't know if it'll work for you. And then I recontacted all 12 of them, and 3 of them said, "I wanna do this with you. Can you show me these steps?" So I said, "Sure, let's see if it works." So I actually did walk 3 people through the steps, and it worked for all 3 of them. That's how it
So,
happened. So
I'm
then it dawned on me, "Oh,
right.
I should teach this to other people."
It's so powerful to think that from your darkest moments, right? Your deepest, like, despair, you come up with a plan to get you out, and then as you're digging yourself out, people are seeing the growth, they're seeing the change, and they're curious.
Yeah.
And I also love that you kept engaging with people so they could see your growth. I think that's really important.
I
Sometimes
was
we
lonely.
I
I wish I would say could say that it was honestly a little more, "Oh, I have something to share with you." No, honestly, I was so lonely, you have no idea.
Yes, that's how you crawled out. You're, like, reaching out for the few
Yeah.
people that are
"Oh,
listening.
someone reached out to me on Facebook today. I can have a DM or chat," you know?
My
It was
gosh.
pathetic. It was so lonely. I was so lonely, honestly.
But I'm thinking, Julie, how many women are out there feeling that way, right? Like, how many women are out there going, I'm so unclear. I'm depressed. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. I feel confused. And I know, like, when I found you, I felt the same way. I was confused and I started
Yeah.
listening to you and I was curious. And your message resonated with me. And I think that's what happened is you connect you are every woman. That's what every woman is going through, right? We're all going through some sort of self-analysis. We're ruminating over what we're not, our failures, our what we haven't accomplished yet, and no one's really admitting it, but we're all secretly ruminating these on these little trails in our head, and when somebody touches the button of a way out, we're like, "Yes." We perk up, "Huh, what has she got? I think I need what she's got." I think that's what happened. I know it's what happened with my interest in what
Well,
you're talking about.
it's so funny because it didn't even cross my mind that every other woman was doing that. You know, when you're in your own pit, you think you're the only one. So,
Yes.
I had no idea that other women were thinking this or felt this way or would need this. So, I was continually shocked every time someone would say, "Can you show me?" To this day, I probably am still shocked when people say, "Thank you so much for doing this." And I'm thinking to myself, I don't really have a choice. This is just what happened. And this is now, and can you show me?" And I'm like, "Sure."
How did you tap into your own strengths and your own capabilities yourself as your because nobody was asking you this question, you're asking it yourself.
'Cause remember where I was at, okay? I was pretty pathetic. I'm like, "Jeez, I must be good for something. I mean, you left me here. I must be good for something." So, I mean, that's how it started. Then I'm like, "Good for something." I guess I did. Like, I'm literally because I'm alone, I'm having these conversations with myself. I must be good for something. Oh, what am I good at? I let me figure this out. And then I did research on the fact that strengths are really a powerfully positive like, gift given to you, like a muscle inside, but because of the way that I grew up and maybe the way a lot of women grew up, very focused on serving other people, trying to be pleasing, trying to accommodate, trying to be a good public daughter because I was a public daughter in my situation. My dad was in politics besides as well as business. And then also to just, you know, the goal of every good girl is to take care of everybody else. So,
Mhm.
it never so anything that didn't jive or I didn't have much of an understanding of who I was, let's put it that way. I
Yep.
knew how I fit into their worlds, but I didn't know who I was. And so,
Mm.
being able to stop looking at everything that was wrong or weak or a flaw or a fault, which was, because my family had quite high standards, that's what I did. And, I it was a and of course, I felt the weight of that, the depression, constantly looking at what's wrong with you. And
Yeah.
the professions that I had prior to that were really a lot of it was about what was wrong with you in my corporate career, even my family business. My dad was a man of few words. Most of them, he'd only speak if there was something wrong. And so there was honestly a lot of an awakening that happened there that, oh my gosh, imagine if we actually focused on our strengths, our God-given strengths.
And it seems so contrary to what society tells us. We don't wanna be boastful. We don't wanna show up like we're somebody, right? And yet we're not even owning our God-given strengths, the things that innately we've been given to have an impact in the world, to serve, to work, to do what we need to do to help others, to take care of our families, whatever. We don't wanna own those. And I notice it's so hard for us as women to say, these are my strengths. This is what I'm good at. So, Julie, it's so exciting to hear how you derived at all of these realizations about yourself, and then you were testing them out there with your Facebook friends. How did you come up with what you felt women really need? Like at the core, what were the foundational pieces that you know that women actually need in their life?
The need was to be willing to admit I had a need. That was a start for me. And that I had needs, that I had wants, that I was and be willing to discover what they were without all the condemning self-judgment, as you said, about being selfish or whatever. But one way is to discover who we're designed to be, and that was the start. I didn't necessarily know at that time that other women, like I said, would want this too. It was more of like realizing this is what I need. I mean, the questions just kept coming. What am I good for? And then the next question, well, what's important to me? And, death changes that. What's important to you? And then what do I like to do? And then what do I believe about the way I'm supposed to fit in this world and be a part of it and create change? And who am I supposed to interact with in this world? I mean, I think the isolation allowed a lot of those questions to come up. And those questions I didn't realize were so universal to so many, especially us martyr moms, if we've ever been one of the, if we've ever had one, been like what that. But I, I meant it sincerely. What am I good for? What use am I here?
What's also fascinating to me is that as you build this business, you reach women all over the world. So you're reaching
Yeah.
women on the other side of the world, and they have the same needs.
Yes.
So, like, this is not a cultural thing. This is a human
Yeah,
part of us that
yeah,
says, I need to know my value. I need to know my strengths. I need to know how to execute that.
yeah,
I need to believe in myself. I need to see myself
yeah.
from the right perspective.
Women of all faiths, women of all
Yes.
ages, and women of all backgrounds and cultures, like you said, I was surprised how universal it was and how, you know, deep it is that
Yeah.
women, when they will give themselves permission to pause and ask those deeper questions. I really pay attention when there's a discontentedness or an irritation within myself. And so I take a lot of time to examine and be a student of it, not a judge, and just stop instead of saying, stop that, knock it off. You should be more kinder or you should be more patient. I don't do that anymore. I go, "Oh, that's interesting. I was really impatient there," or "Wow, that's really interesting. I was really, that really unnerved me. Why is that?"
What are some of the most freeing things that you tell women in what you teach and train that you feel like has really changed their mindset?
Oh, there's 2. 1, be a student of yourself and not a judge. That is daily, minute to minute, hour to hour for me. Like, even right now, being a student of myself and the way I'm speaking and what I'm feeling and how I'm connecting with you, not a judge. It's so freeing. That is so freeing just to observe and to take it in. And then the other one is that if I actually want more, I have to become more. I don't it's not about circumstances. It's genuinely not about how much money I have, how much support I have or don't have, how much popularity I have or don't have, how much like where I live or don't live. It's really about if I want to have more in my life, then it's about me becoming more. I am responsible for the results. I don't control, but I have a responsibility to them and for them.
And when you're working with women, what do you feel like is the thing that makes them the most, transformable? Like, what are some of the things that,
Oh,
like, if a woman's thinking right now, "Well, am I really open to change?" Because I'm in my 60s, and, like, it was tough coming in and making changes mentally, emotionally, and saying, "I can think different, I can be different." Because I had so many fears coming in. I was thinking, I was afraid of water, I'm learning to swim. I didn't like getting on airplanes because 'cause I'd sit there and ruminate over the all the possibilities of disaster, and I don't think that's so uncommon. I think as we mature and we get older, we almost find new things to be afraid of. We
it's true.
lose our courage, right? And so I know that's where I was going, and so I feel like you've helped me retrain my thinking, and now I'm helping women retrain their thinking, and
Mhm.
so, I'm curious about that.
The thing that helps women get started is knowing that there is more and being brave enough to admit it, like you said, like being willing to listen to those gnawings and those hauntings internally of discontent without judgment. And so instead of looking at life on repeat, which is what we get to as we age, sometimes we don't expect more. We expect less. And we write ourselves off as we age like, that we're going to decline. Why? Says who? I mean, so much of age is voluntary. That's been proven through the research. But I think we subscribe to what culture tells us more than investigating things for ourselves. And if a woman will take the time to discover who she is, then develop who she is, and then be willing to see where she's best used and distributed those gifts, then she's going to find a whole new chapter that more is actually going to come true.
So what happens when a woman starts on a journey and then she gets afraid and you feel that resistance and she's feeling the resistance? She's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can go here." Like, what would you tell her? How would you have her overcome that?
One of the main ways that we do our coaching practice is a lot of what we call appreciative inquiry, is that we ask a lot of questions because we trust that the answers are within you. So if you're stuck or you get to a place where you're stuck or a woman is stuck and it's like, oh, I can't go there. What does there look like? What would be the worst case scenario? What do you think holds you back? What's this stuck frame of mind doing for you? Because sometimes we hang on to the way that we think, maybe unintentionally. We say we want to change, but honestly, it's where we're more comfortable. It's what we know. So there's a lot of different ways that we take on and tackle limiting beliefs and help them therefore then unleash those, unlock those, and then rewire their brain to go, wait a minute. It's now how can I do it? Not that I cannot do it. Now there's and what I've learned is there are multiple solutions to any given problem. It's just that we get to a place where we think there's no solution, but that's not true.
Julie, what are some of the traps that you think women fall into, maybe in their thoughts or their daily lives that just take them down or create a self-defeated environment for them?
I always think, well, what traps do I fall into? And that's where they fall because I realized we're really all so alike. And the traps I fall into and the traps many other women I've talked to fall into are the need for external validation and approval. Like, honestly, that's one of the biggest ones. Recently, throughout our community, and I put together this 30-day approval addiction detox. And so, because it was such a fun thing to do together, we do all these detoxes for our body and, get nutrition and on our exercise and all these things that we're doing, challenges and detoxes. And I thought, okay, well, this one's going to be a really good time. And it has served to really embolden a lot of women and set them free. So that's one. The approval addiction, I'll say that's one. External validation, that's lumped into there as well. The need for someone else to give them permission, their husband, their parents, their best friend, their community, someone that says it's okay for you to do this outside of themselves. I think those are big traps. They don't trust their own voices, and primarily because they've made some mistakes. And there's reason to not trust their own judgment and their own voices. And so learning how to create a trustworthy inner voice is one of the main things that we do. We help them prove through the presence of new evidence and new rewiring, the way the brain is rewired through neuroplasticity. So we help them rewire it so that their strengths, the powerful, positive, optimistic, faith-filled future is their default. Yeah.
I don't know a woman who doesn't have a mean inner critic that she's taking you down at every point, right?
Yeah.
She's criticizing and she compares you with other people. That's another thing our inner critic does. It's like the whole comparison trap, don't go
Yeah.
there. And so
Yeah.
they're so freeing. And I think there's tools and tricks and tips and things that we can do that make a huge difference. And that's been one of the powerful parts of coaching for me because I've been trained by women over my 30 plus years of working and counseling and helping women. But nobody's ever taught me some of the things I've learned through coaching, the powerful tools on how to reframe and rewire my brain and not go down those rabbit holes that have just taken me down emotionally, that are
Yeah.
common among all women.
Thoughts create feelings and thoughts create outcomes. And so if you can realize that every behavior, you can reverse engineer that. Every action you're taking is driven by a thought that you have, conscious or unconscious. And so, if you can then start to be much more of a student of your own thinking instead of a judge, which opens the growth area, you can then begin that rewiring process. You cannot rewire the brain because between if you're judging all the time because between stimulus and response is the existence of choice. That is where we make change.
Yeah.
And so choice is where we have power. If we just keep responding the same way to these different stimuli in our life, then change will not occur.
And you know what else I've noticed is that it doesn't matter what you do in life. I mean, I know
Oh,
you I know you've coached women at very high levels, doctors,
yes,
attorneys. It doesn't matter. These women also struggle with the same thought processes.
absolutely.
And I mean, and you and I have some common friends that we like, "You're insecure? What's going on?" Right?
Ye-
We're amazed that that person would even have those thoughts. But because we never own them and we never rewire them and we never address them, we never change. And so I've seen some really phenomenal changes among women at every level. And I think that's one of the most powerful tools is that we can think differently and therefore act differently and show up differently.
This early 20s, mid 20s, whatever, right in that space, they're just coming from a place of being at home, perhaps in college or whatever, and then they're, trying to uh, clearly identify themselves in the world. And so it is interesting to work with the 20 somethings because both my daughters actually did it, when she was in law school and the other one just after she had graduated from college, but they both did it and now it's really transformed the way they think and the way they, as you said, interview, date, marry, interact with their husbands. So, yes,
Mm.
do I wish I'd learned this when I was their age? You're darn right.
Can
But
you
the
imagine
beauty of it
having
is we can learn it at any age. So we've worked with women from
yes.
17. We even have clients now, they're 81,
Yeah.
still learning and growing. So it's not age is not a definer in this community because as long as the brain is still functioning, and some of us might question that, I know with what we've been through, I
Good
did
morning.
for sure. Yeah, but that too can be, believe it or not, helped by a lot of the tools that we teach on. Is that it's amazing the healing that occurs as a side benefit of getting your mental fitness in line, and that's what we do
Yeah.
a lot of training on, the
Yeah.
mental fitness. So I train my mind rigorously now, not my intellect, my mind.
Fine. What is it that you want women to know, Julie? If you could just tell them one thing, what do you want them to know?
That honestly inside of you is a solution to a world issue.
Mm,
And I know that's really lofty, and I know that could feel burdensome, and I know that could feel overwhelming. And yeah, most of you will probably write me off, but I have seen women
mm,
when they were willing to discover who they are, develop who they are, and then share who they are in the appropriate places at the appropriate times at the appropriate amounts, watching them literally solve world issues like anti racism laws, like health challenges, like family issues. I mean, issues that plague our generation. Seriously, I'm watching the world change when women, who, in my opinion, are an undertapped, underutilized resource, start to wake up, start to develop, start to deliver and distribute the gifts that they've been given.
every and everyone has them. I mean,
Every
it does
single
every
human
there's
being.
yeah, 'cause sometimes women are like, "Well, I'm not, I don't have what you" don't compare, like, they're there. We just haven't
Yep.
uncovered them, and that's what I know we've discovered in helping women. It's like, yes, you have talents and gifts, and they can be utilized. And then I love tapping into women's passions to figure out how can we use those?
Yeah.
That's a powerful next step. Okay, someone is telling you, "I feel the need for change." What's one thing they could do to get started?
The kind of change most people are looking for is a series of small changes.
Yeah.
That's really the fastest way to the change they're looking for is a series of small steps that
Mhm.
takes time. So, one of the first small steps that I recommend and we offer actually is a complimentary coaching call that we term a vision session. The reason for that is because a vision session is an opportunity for you to co craft with one of our coaches your ideal future, say a year, 2 years, 3 years out. And if there's no target, it's very hard to hit the bullseye. So, that's a big part of it. We say we wanna help you find your preferable future, but we've gotta define what your preferable future is. We call it live your vision for a reason. It's not Julie Landy coaching. It's called live your vision. It's about you. And so if there's anything I could urge you to do would be to set up a complimentary coaching call with us. We offer them free of charge. Map out, co-create with the coach your ideal future, and then she'll help you reverse engineer a way forward to it. And then if you decide you want to work with us, great. If you decide you want to take that blueprint and go elsewhere, that's fine too. But at least you'll have a very clear idea, which, believe it or not, that in and of itself is the first big step, getting clear on what you want for your future.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and I love doing vision sessions with people because I feel like when women take time to think it through, they've got something in there. They just haven't verbalized it.
Yeah,
They might have little
absolutely.
pieces, but when we get it on paper and we talk about it, boy, it just really digs into that passion and what they desire, and it actually builds momentum for them.
It's just crazy to see how many women I know that have actually done these vision sessions, and then the ones that have worked with us because I have tracking on them, I see what happens. But in a year or 2 years, they're actually living the life that they described, that they thought, "Oh, this is just a dream. This is
Yeah.
what I love." And lo and behold, if we don't map it out and then create the steps, the little tiny steps that they can do to get there. But even the women that have done a vision session and have not worked with us, it's funny, one of our coaches just ran into one of her old the not a client, but a someone that took her up on one of those sessions. They still have their vision session recorded, blueprinted, and they still have they already have seen so much change as a result of just knowing where they want to go. So to
Yes.
get one small step, figure out where you wanna go, but it's not gonna happen by yourself
Right.
usually. Get some help, and we're offering free help to do that.
Absolutely. Well, Julie, this has been so valuable. And I love discussing these things with you because they're so real to me. My own transformation has become
Yeah.
real. Hearing you talk about it, listening to your story and what you've been through and what you now offer women. And you can see why this is so big, why you have the business that you have. And it's so empowering. Women need a new path, a new way to think about themselves and see the world around them and their interaction with it. So I'm so glad that you were here today. Do you have a way that you want people to connect with you, a Facebook page, or how you would like them to connect with you?
Sure. I mean, we have multiple ways you can connect with us. We have the Live Your Vision website, which is liveyourvision.us. Or on Facebook, you can find us, Live Your Vision, our business page there. You can reach out to me personally, Julie Landi. You can join multiple things that we have coming up. I would definitely join our email list. If you do that through the website, you'll have access to all sorts of special announcements and opportunities and even discounted opportunities that the insiders get. Let's just put it that way. So we love to keep connected with our community, and we do a pretty good job of that.
Yes. And if you were interested in the vision talk and you wanna put something right here on the podcast, say, "Yes, I would love that," and just let me know as well, and there's many ways you can connect with us as well as myself.
Yep.
Julie, do you have any parting words for women or any upcoming programs or anything you'd like to tell people about? Because I wanna make sure that they glean everything they can from your time here.
Our company is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Who knew? You know, most businesses fail between a year to 3 years and 5 years. If they make it 5 years, they're doing something. If they make it 7 years, they're doing something, and we're getting ready to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. So we're super excited. So this consider this my personal invitation to you that are listening to our decade of visionaries from idea to impact is what we're talking about. It is a 3-day immersive experience. All of our coaching is based on experiential learning where you will learn the brain science, you'll learn the spiritual pieces, you'll learn the actual practical applications, and then you get to go do them. And so it's 75 private acres and in Atlanta, Georgia, a little south of Atlanta, Georgia, that we have rented. And we have room for just 200 women. We've already sold a good chunk of tickets. So you'd want to do that, get your ticket as soon as you can. But we have 3 amazing days to watch your spirit be awakened, then illuminated the idea or the clarity, and then the idea of the commissioning at the end. So there's a little hint for you. If you like the Chronicles of Narnia, consider joining us and finding out that there's a world beyond what you know that is possible.
Isn't that true? I'm gonna be there. It's gonna be an amazing time.
October 16th through the 18th. Let me just mention that.
Well, thank you again, Julie. I'm so inspired by you. Thank you for your friendship, your mentoring, and thank you for taking your deepest, darkest moments and bringing and emerging something for women that is life changing. And as people get to know you better, they'll see there's so much more in them that they'll discover through this process. And I'm just so grateful for you being here today. And I'm grateful for you and our relationship. I hope that you will connect with us and if you're burning in your heart, you have a need, make sure you put something in the chat and connect with us because we're here to help you find your vision, as Julie said. Thanks
Yeah.
again.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks, everyone.
If you've been feeling restless, like you're meant for more, but keep ending up in the same patterns, this is your moment to shift. I want to invite you to a free vision talk with me. You don't have to stay stuck. Just put in the chat, I'm ready, and we'll set up a free vision session just for you.